Have you ever noticed something strange about old legends? Stories about monsters, ghosts, and mysterious creatures appear in almost every culture on Earth. Different languages, different continents, yet the creatures sound surprisingly similar. For centuries, people dismissed these stories as imagination. But sometimes myths begin with something real, something seen once, misunderstood, and passed down through generations. And when you look closely, some of these creatures connect to strange discoveries, unexplained sightings, and mysteries science still can't fully explain. Today, we're exploring 12 creatures that exist on the thin line between myth and reality. And the deeper we go, the stranger things get. 1. Werewolf. One of the most famous legends in human history is the werewolf, a creature that is part human and part wolf. According to legend, an ordinary person transforms during the full moon. Bones stretch, muscles grow, fur covers the body, and glowing eyes appear in the darkness. But the disturbing detail is that the person doesn't completely lose their mind. They can still think, but their instincts take control. Stories of werewolves date back thousands of years. One of the earliest versions comes from ancient Greece, where a king named Lycaon was punished by Zeus and turned into a wolf. During the Middle Ages, fear of werewolves became so real that people were actually put on trial for being one in parts of France and Germany. Modern science suggests another explanation. A rare psychological condition called clinical lycanthropy causes people to genuinely believe they have turned into an animal. So while werewolves may not exist, the human mind can make the experience feel terrifyingly real. 2. The giant mutant whale. Now let's leave the forests behind and dive into the ocean. In 1997, scientists monitoring the Pacific Ocean detected a strange underwater sound called the Julia signal. It lasted about 15 seconds and was incredibly powerful. Hydrophones thousands of miles apart recorded it at the same time. At first, researchers assumed it was a whale, but the sound was too loud and too deep to match any known species. Some theorists suggested a strange possibility, an unknown whale species far larger than anything we know. Maybe something living deep in the ocean where sunlight never reaches. Over 80% of the ocean remains unexplored, and scientists still record underwater sounds they can't explain. 3. Cyclops. Next comes the legendary Cyclops, a gigantic creature with a single eye in the center of its forehead. The most famous Cyclops appears in the ancient epic The Odyssey, where the hero Odysseus encounters the giant Polyphemus. But archaeologists believe the myth may have started with a misunderstanding. On Mediterranean islands like Sicily, Crete, and Malta, researchers discovered fossil skulls of ancient dwarf elephants. These skulls contain a large hole in the center, not for an eye, but for the elephant's trunk. To ancient people unfamiliar with elephants, the skull might have looked like the remains of a giant one-eyed monster. 4. Vasuki indicus. Some creatures exist between myth and real science. In Hindu mythology, Vasuki was a gigantic serpent used by gods and demons to churn the cosmic ocean. For centuries, this was seen as purely symbolic. But in 2023, scientists in Gujarat discovered fossils of a massive prehistoric marine reptile nearly 39 feet long. They named it Vasuki indicus. The creature lived about 100 million years ago, when the region was covered by tropical seas. Interestingly, local legends had long spoken about giant serpents connected to the area. 5. Banshee. Not all creatures are monsters, some are warnings. One of the most haunting legends in Ireland is the Banshee. According to folklore, this ghostly figure appears near a home shortly before someone dies. Witnesses describe a chilling cry echoing through the night, a distant wail carried by the wind. Some stories describe her as a young woman with pale hair, others as an old woman in a gray cloak. Science suggests many of these sounds may come from foxes, owls, or unusual wind patterns. But when fear fills in the details, a simple sound can become a legend lasting centuries. 6. Cadborosaurus. Along the coast of the Pacific Northwest, fishermen have reported sightings of a strange creature for more than a century. They call it Cadborosaurus. Witnesses describe a long serpent-like animal with fins along its spine and a head resembling a horse. Sightings have occurred near Vancouver Island since the early 1900s. One strange report from 1937 claimed a dead whale was found with remains of an unknown creature inside its stomach. Scientists briefly examined it, and then the specimen disappeared. To this day, no confirmed evidence exists. But the Pacific Ocean is vast. 7. Mothman. Some legends begin in small towns. In 1966, residents of Point Pleasant reported sightings of a large winged creature with glowing red eyes. They called it the Mothman. Witnesses described a humanoid figure nearly 7 feet tall, with wings stretching over 10 feet. 1 year later, in 1967, the Silver Bridge collapsed, killing 46 people. After the disaster, many believed the creature had been a warning. Today, the town even hosts an annual Mothman festival. 8. Mosasaurus. Unlike many creatures on this list, Mosasaurus was real. This enormous marine reptile ruled prehistoric oceans and could grow up to 56 feet long. It looked like a mix between a giant lizard, crocodile, and sea serpent. But some sailors have reported seeing massive serpent-like animals in deep waters. A controversial theory suggests distant descendants of Mosasaurus might still exist in the unexplored depths. Most scientists strongly doubt it. Still, the deep ocean remains one of Earth's least explored places. 9. Taniwha. In New Zealand, Maori legends tell of a powerful creature called Taniwha. These beings were said to live in rivers, caves, and coastal waters. Some were described as giant serpents, others resembled dragon-like reptiles. Interestingly, construction projects in New Zealand have occasionally been delayed because communities believed a Taniwha lived nearby. To outsiders, this may sound like superstition. But for Maori culture, the story represents respect for the power of nature. 10. Barghest. In northern England, another dark legend exists. The Barghest, a massive black spectral dog said to roam graveyards and lonely roads. Witnesses describe glowing red eyes and heavy footsteps echoing in the fog. Some stories claim it drags ghostly chains behind it. Like many folklore creatures, the Barghest may represent humanity's fear of darkness and isolation. 11. Leviathan. Few creatures are as terrifying as Leviathan. This enormous sea monster appears in ancient religious texts, including the Old Testament. Some descriptions portray it as a giant sea serpent, others as a dragon covered in impenetrable scales. Scholars believe Leviathan symbolized the uncontrollable power of the ocean. Because to ancient sailors, the sea itself was the real monster. 12. Narwhal. Finally, we end with a creature that once seemed mythical, but is actually real. The narwhal, often called the unicorn of the sea. This Arctic whale has a spiral tusk that can grow up to 10 feet long. During the Middle Ages, these tusks were sold across Europe as magical unicorn horns. In reality, the tusk is simply a long tooth growing through the whale's upper lip. Narwhals still live today in the icy waters near Greenland and Canada. Legends will always exist because humans are natural storytellers. But sometimes myths lead to real discoveries, fossils, unknown species, or mysteries hidden deep beneath the ocean. Which raises a fascinating question. How many creatures from ancient legends are still waiting to be discovered?